Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a conspiracy theory video for you. If you're new here, besides conspiracy theories, I make story times and mukbangs and like sit down videos. Now just recently, Kid Buu, who is a rapper who quite obviously named himself after the Dragon Ball Z character, came out and said that he is a clone.
I was cloned by Clonaid in Canada. My model number is 0112568.
So we're gonna dig on into that today and see if that's even possible, that has any truth to it at all. So first things first, let's talk about the history of cloning. Cloning has been around for a very long time. Back in 1996, they cloned Dolly the sheep. Obviously at this time, this was a scientific breakthrough. This was a huge deal. She lived for 6.5 years. She didn't live as long as the type of sheep that she is would normally live. They'd normally live to be about 12 years old, but it was still a really big deal that they were able to do this. And since this time, cloning has really taken off. They've been able to clone so many different animals:
cats, dogs, camels, horses, pigs, monkeys.
The list goes on and on. Obviously, there is a whole ethical issue with cloning. Some people feel like, should we really be playing God? A lot of times the animal ends up with birth defects or just health issues throughout their life. But there are a lot of benefits of cloning, which is why it's still being looked at. One of them being the ability to resurrect extinct species. They have actually been able to do this with one animal that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. However, it died shortly after birth, but you know, they're making strides toward that, so they might be able to do something with that someday. Also, they'd be able to do a lot of research on the effects of nature versus nurture, especially if they had human clones. The only way they've been able to study that, as far as I've come across in my research, is through purposely separating twins at birth illegally. But yeah, how cloning works from the National Human Genome Research Institute. I'm just going to be kind of summarizing.
Obviously, I'm not a scientist.
But what they said is that you remove a somatic cell from an animal that you wish to clone. Then you take an egg and remove that egg cell's DNA. Then you transfer the DNA from that somatic cell into the empty egg. So that cell then develops in a test tube until it's an embryo. Then it's implanted into a female animal so that it can give birth. So with cloning, it is the exact DNA of the animal being cloned. However, like in movies and all of that, we think of clones as being an exact replica, at least from what's been public and official. We can clone animals, but we can't clone exact copies. We can't clone memories, we can't clone experiences. They are going to have different personalities based on the conditions that they grew up in. So basically, cloning just makes a twin of the original. Cloning humans, in theory, is not impossible. If we can do it with animals, particularly monkeys, there's a good chance that we'd be able to do it with humans. Cloning is illegal in most parts of the entire world. Now, has it been done before? That's the question. So Kid Buu, he kind of popped up out of nowhere. Like I said, he's a rapper.
That hoe like roses, ooh. She won't ride up in my coupe, cause I got stars in my roof. Yeah. So I been one on one, but she really think I know one. Told that little baby, no, I'm not the one.
He says that he is a second-generation clone that escaped from a cloning facility called Clonaid.
I guess you were born in Jersey?
Yeah. Originally, my first gen. I'm a second gen now. My first gen was born in Jersey. However, I was cloned by Clonaid in Canada. My model number is 0112568, if anyone wants to see the registration in Clonaid.
Okay.
So I saw this and I was like, what's Clonaid? Is that even real? I did some research and very easily I found a website called Clonaid. So I was looking at it and I was like, okay, this looks pretty legit. There were a few very minor grammatical errors that I noticed, but also I'm just kind of really into grammar, so maybe that's just me being annoying. The copyright on the bottom of the page said 2006 to 2009. That was a red flag to me because I noticed a lot of websites don't really have copyright on the bottom. It's very easy to fake websites. Obviously nowadays everybody knows how to do web design. Also there's a million different like websites that help you build websites. So I wanted to see, has this actually been around for a while, or is this just something that somebody created to try and back his theory to freak people out? So I went to the Wayback Machine. Now the Wayback Machine, it's like an internet time machine. I typed in Clonaid and I was able to see that the website has been around since 1997. So it's been around a while, it's safe to say. Now I am going to show the 1997 version of Clonaid's website. I just wanted to preface this by saying like all websites looked like this in 1997. Don't judge it based on how it was designed because this is just like a typical website for back in the day. It says on the website website that Clonaid was founded by the Rail movement. Now, Rail is a religion, and the Raelians believe that UFOs are real and that aliens created humans. So obviously, first of all, that's a little far-fetched. I believe in aliens, so I'm not trying to say that that's totally out there, but it just is a little bit out of the norm. So that's the first red flag, a big giant red flag. Another red flag was that they kept trying to sell stuff on their website throughout the years. I did go through several different years because on the Wayback Machine you can click on like different years and different months. I noticed they kept selling more and more stuff. Like first there was just cloning as well as insure a clone, putting down the cells needed to be able to someday clone if you can't afford it right away. Eventually they created StemAid, which is stem cell therapy, which I thought was interesting because they literally said on their website that they are not claiming that this works in any capacity. They're not even claiming that their own product works. They also sold multiple books throughout the years on their website. They asked for donations, all of that. So it does seem like they're trying to get money. Now, Clonaid claimed to have that's hard to say. Now, Clonaid claimed to have cloned the first baby in 2002. Her name was Eve. If she is alive today, she is 15 going on 16 years old. Obviously, at the time when they were claiming to have cloned a baby, this was huge news. They had a big press conference and the baby didn't show up. The mom didn't show up.
The first baby clone is born.
She said that the family didn't feel comfortable coming forward yet. Clonaid as a company wanted to respect their privacy. On their website, they kept updating it, saying that they've cloned different people, like more and more. The last I could find was up to 12 babies, and then they seem to have stopped reporting it. I don't know if that's because that's the last baby that was cloned, or they didn't want to damage their credibility anymore, and or they were just lying about it all, and they haven't actually cloned any babies, and they decided to move on with their lives and stop lying. I don't know. It's still around. You would assume if they were cloning babies that they still are. That's what it sounds like on their website. A lot of people believe that Michael Jackson was cloned, and that's something that Kid Buu actually said in his interview.
Michael then technically was the first. People think he was a clone.
Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
As I mentioned in my Mandela Effects video, which I'll have up here, a lot of people think that major celebrities are being cloned so that they can be in the Illuminati. Their clones go out and be doing the things that they should be doing so that no one notices that they're gone. A lot of people also think that celebrities just get tired of being in the spotlight and want to be cloned so that their clone can go and die. Everyone thinks that they're dead, and then they can go and live a secret life. Clonaid had on their website that a lot of people had been reaching out to them asking if they had cloned Michael Jackson. They came out and said they're not going to release the identity of anybody that they've cloned, but that they knew Michael Jackson was on board with being cloned. Is cloning humans real? I don't know. I think it's definitely possible. If we can clone monkeys, there's a really good chance we can clone humans. The thing is, Kid Buu, he was born in 1994.
Whenever we're having conversations about music he grew up with or like movies he grew up with, I always had this hunch that he was a lot older than 23. And at this point, I'm thinking, I've never looked at this man's ID, ever. His ID says he's born in the 80s. And I'm doing quick math in my head and realize this man's in his 30s.
Clonaid didn't exist until 1997, and they didn't even claim to have cloned anybody until 2002. They only claim to be able to clone the way that they're cloning animals right now. They have to start out as a baby. It's not like adult animal to adult animal. Clonaid has never claimed to be able to do that on their website as far as I have been able to research, which I've done way too much research on this. He would have to be a lot younger if he was cloned by Clonaid. Conspiracy theorists definitely do think though that adult humans are being cloned and that there is a rapid aging process. They start out as a baby, but there's some incubation tube that would be able to grow them more quickly, and so they'd kind of walk out a blank slate, but they'd be adults. That would be the only way that Kid Buu would have been cloned by Clonaid. So what's the verdict? Was Kid Buu cloned, or is this just a bunch of hocus pocus nonsense mumbo jumbo? I don't think so. Reason being, not because I want to doubt that anybody has been cloned. I do think that humans are probably being cloned somewhere in the world right now. I do think it's possible, but I don't think he is in particular a clone, because in the interview he mentions that they take a bone in the front of your head and transport it from the clone into you.
What happened with my first gen is they took the skull he initially had written in a will that if something were to happen to him, they can ship the skull over immediately to Clonaid. So they can remove a fragment of bone that's located here. And in this fragment of bone, it stores all of your memories and consciousness. And with that, they can make a sufficient replica of yourself, a reproductive version of you, including your memories. And you can be selective as to which ones you keep or don't keep.
First of all, bones don't hold memories. That doesn't even make sense. Second of all, he says later on in the interview that he doesn't have a lot of memories from growing up, or his clone growing up, because they wiped his memories from him.
When I was cloned, they wiped a lot of memory, but when I stole the documents before escaping, I read that the mother was Puerto Rican and I guess the father, surrogate, you could say, was the sperm donor was the Sicilian. A lot of the memories from Clonaid were erased just so that way the new gen can move forward with whatever new programming was made.
Why would they have even transported that bone if they were just gonna wipe his memories clean anyway? At another part in the interview, he mentions that he doesn't have a lot of memories of his childhood because he did a lot of drugs, which makes a little bit more sense.
Except all the memories. A lot of them I don't have because of drugs and alcohol I abused as a teenager.
So, which is it? Kid Buu? He just doesn't have a lot of consistency to his claims. They don't really make a whole lot of sense if you put everything together. And why, if he was cloned, would he have been placed with a single mom? Why would a single mom, a struggling single mom, pay $200,000 to clone their child?
You were actually raised by a single mother.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And he has an identical twin. Another thing to consider is that Kid Buu only has an education through, from what I've looked online, the 5th grade. He actually stopped going to regular school. He went to an alternative school for a while, and then he was homeschooled, and apparently by the 5th grade he was just done and ready to go out there in the world. Honestly, I think one of two things happened here. First of all, he is delusional. Not saying that in a derogatory way at all. People with mental illnesses, people with childhood trauma, which he kind of touches on, people with past drug use, all can experience delusions where they very strongly believe something happened to them or they are doing something or whatever. That is just completely not true at all. Dr. Phil is a great example. The girl who thought she was giving birth to baby Jesus.
There is no what if. I am pregnant. And it is Jesus. I'm 9 months pregnant.
Kanye is being himself, but people find him ignorant or whatnot, but because they don't understand where his mind is.
If you understand and comprehend him, you need to let him know about who he is and how he is.
I think, you know, sometimes I play like I don't know, and it's just something you throw out there to see if people will offer an opinion of what they think you are. Geniuses tend to do that sometimes.
Another thing might be that he's just trying to get publicity. It could very easily be a marketing strategy. He kind of looks a little spacey, you know, he kind of has like a weird image. He has colored hair, he has a lot of tattoos. He just looks a little out there, and so maybe he's just trying to create that brand for himself, like,
Oh yeah, I'm the clone.
You wanted fame so badly.
So anyway, that is the verdict. I don't think that he is a clone. I do think human cloning does exist already or is very possible. But let me know your guys' thoughts. If you liked this video, please subscribe and turn on the bell. Check out my latest videos, and I will see you next week. Bye guys.
Shout out Clonaid.